Hello, and welcome to Radio NIGP. It is March of 2024, and that means that it's procurement month. And the team at Radio NIGP has assembled this program that celebrates our profession and the vital role that you play in your own success, that of your procurement team and your agency. March celebrates the power of you. So grab your drink of choice, sit back, and enjoy this episode of Radio NIGP.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kirk Buffington with NIGP Radio. I'm here today with Mr. Rick Grimm, our Chief Executive Officer of NIGP. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Kirk. Good to see you again.
Thank you. I thought we'd just spend a few minutes talking about March is purchasing month. And, prior to my starting the recording, we were just having a conversation about the state of purchasing post-pandemic, and what I see and what maybe you see. And one of the things we talked about was the jobs report just released this morning, shows still an uptick in employment. But what I saw that I have not seen in the past, that one of the sectors that is having a bump in hiring is the public sector. Have you seen the same thing?
Well, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I know that public sector agencies are continuing to struggle with having the right talent in their organizations. A lot of that was due to pandemic and the Great Resignation. As people looked at their portfolios and said, "Yeah, I think I can retire. I don't want to go back into the office," when that occurred, and those vacancies are still there. And we know that just by kind of the coincidental information about public agencies, particularly in public procurement, are hiring people as contractors to come in and do the work that employees used to do, whether it's an agent to write RFPs or to develop the bid process. So we know that staff augmentation for public sector has been a big demand in the public procurement arena. And the other indication on that from an NIGP standpoint, Kirk, is that there has been increased demand, very, very obvious increased demand on developing educational programs for people entering the workforce. And so NIGP has developed this introduction to public procurement because that's the new group that's coming in and taking those positions as you talk about the growth in the public sector and the growth in public procurement. Now you have people that have been doing maybe work in government, but they don't understand public procurement. So they need that orientation, that introduction on what does public procurement mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I've seen is private sector purchasing folks coming into the public sector side.
Right.
For a lot of different reasons, but stability has always been one of those reasons a person goes to work in the public sector. They understand purchasing, but they don't understand the nuances of the public sector. And I was really excited to see the intro course coming out and being developed. And again, a tip of the hat to you and your staff in recognizing that trend and boom, coming to market with an offer. So I think that's great.
And making the market available virtually, because we're not actually seeing people go back into the classroom. There's some exceptions to that, but the content team has done a phenomenal job of finding a way in which to deliver education and learning virtually, and to make it a great experience for the learner. So
absolutely,
yeah.
So the theme of March being purchasing month is the power of you.
Yes.
And, I think that encourages each of us to look at what we have done and what we can do.
Right.
I'm retired, but I think it's still important to do what I continue to do for public sector purchasing.
Right.
And so how does that theme, resonate with you?
Well, yeah, individually, we're part of a team that works in public procurement, and Kirk, you and I go back a little ways. We're not gonna throw the numbers
No,
out
we will
here.
not do that. All I
But
know is I have a lot of gray hair, and
yeah, and I don't have
you've
any
got
hair.
some hair.
So, our whole challenge, as a growing public procurement professional, is always to keep us out of the newspaper. As a matter of fact, I heard this just last week, that one of the objectives of public procurement is to keep us out of the newspaper. And I need to disagree with that. I think what we need to do is have public procurement in the newsletter, because no one knows
What we
our
do.
story. It's still this kind of like, what do you do? Why is this important? I remember was visiting a relative while I was on one of my business trips. This is probably about 5 years ago, and they said, I don't know what you do. What is this public procurement thing? And we actually went down to the street level, and we saw public procurement in action. It was the fire truck. It was the public transportation bus. It was the asphalt that people were driving. It was the stoplight. It was the clean air that we were breathing. It was the clean water that we were drinking. I said, now that's what public procurement is all about. And they go, I had no idea that you do all of those things. I mean, the public procurement is so pervasive in the life of communities that without public procurement, and certainly without public procurement being done correctly, you have all of that opportunity to waste the tax dollars. And so, it really is about understanding our value. Now, we need to do that collectively as organizations. And we have seen throughout this month many public sector organizations doing proclamations talking about the value of Procurement Month. But it really is down to that individual, because we know that public servants are just doing, all I'm doing is my job. Yeah, but when you do your job correctly, when it's about you and you're doing it correctly, you have more textbooks in the classrooms, you have safer workplaces, you're protecting your first responders. And so it's understanding the power of you and what you do every day. And you're the unsung heroes, but someone's got to sing your song, and hopefully you'll sing it about yourself, that you'll look yourself in the mirror and say, really, I do have an impact. I make a difference in the communities that I live in.
Yeah, that is so true. I had a similar story. The summer, about 3 or 4 months before Katrina and Wilma came through 2005, got new city administration, new city manager, new assistant city managers. And I remember one of the assistant city managers saying to me directly, Kirk, I don't know what it is you do. And, we all find that a little offensive, obviously, but a few months later, Katrina, Wilma come through, and there was a whole different attitude after those two storm emergencies, and sitting in the emergency operations center, and, that kind of thing. So that perception still continues to need to be, changed and addressed, and that kind of thing. But
yeah,
I certainly have seen, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I certainly have seen a change post-pandemic about how the operations side looks at the service side of procurement and what they bring to the table.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, for procurement, we are recognized best when there's a crisis at hand.
Yep.
Because we are resilient. We know the rules. We also know how to work around the rules, make sure you're following the rules, but we know how to handle emergencies like hurricanes. Look at the long-term emergency called COVID-19, and how we were, the first thing that we were working in public procurement is to make sure that we're taking care of those first responders, masks, gowns, all the things that dealt with healthcare. And it actually elevated public procurement in that arena. And then, the issue of supply chain breakdowns. What are we going to do in procurement to maybe create a little bit more redundancy so that we have backups, and then we strengthen the relationship with the supplier community so that we're not caught flat-footed when these kinds of situations happen again. Yeah, they say these are, once in a century, but you never know what's going to
What
hit the public
century?
sector where the century is.
Yeah,
And we always have to be prepared, and we have to look at that opportunity to make sure we have strong contracts and that we have strong relationships with the supplier community. And that's a major lesson learned from the pandemic that I actually do think lifted up public procurement as well.
absolutely. Well, Rick, I want to thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk with Radio NIGP about purchasing, where procurement is in today's environment, and celebrating March being purchasing month.
Because
So
it is
again,
about the power of you,
the power of
every
you.
single one of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much, Rick.
Thanks, Kirk. Appreciate it.
For Rick Grimm, this is Kirk Buffington, and this is Radio NIGP.
Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Allaire with Radio NIGP, and I'm very fortunate to have with me today Keith Ashby. Keith is from Colorado, and he has something very important to share with you. Keith.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning, everybody. I would like to share with you some insights that I have that I know some members don't have that opportunity to have. I remember when Rick first told me that he was going to move back to East and take over NIGP, not take over, but be the director of NIGP. And he told us when I was a member of the local chapter in Colorado. And so he was head of the local chapter in Denver and in Colorado for a while. And he brought all the members together from the Colorado chapter to let us know what his intentions were. From that relationship with Rick, I have been able to develop a strong bond with him. And it goes back to a story that I need to share with everybody that I was scheduled to teach a class out east, and at the time, my wife didn't want me to go because our child was sick with cancer, and Danielle was her name. We call her Danny, and so she said, "Keith, go ahead and teach the class. I'll be fine." And my wife said, "I don't want you to go." And Danny said, "He can go, Mom. I want him to go." And so I left, and no sooner than the wheels landed at the airport there, I got a call from my wife. She said, "You need to get your butt home right now." That's the exact words she used. I called Rick and said, "Rick, I need to get home ASAP. Danny's not doing well at all." And he said, "Okay, Keith, we'll take it. We'll get you home." And he got me home in time. I was able to be there with her. I was able to spend time with her and talk to her before she made her transition. And basically what I did is she would always lay on the couch and sofa in the living room. And I just basically raised her head up and put her head on my lap and just whispered in her ear and talked to her the whole time. They say that is the last thing to go when you make a transition is your hearing. And so I did that. And then I was doing all the talking, and I turned to my wife. I said, "You need to get over here and sit down right here and just talk to her." And so she did. And that was the most gratifying thing that I could do, is to be there for her. And because she told me, "Keith, I'll be all right. Go ahead and teach your class." That's what she told me. And so it really, really brought a bond together with the family. And it really showed me how Rick is really care about the employees and the staff members and the instructors and everybody, all the members of NIGP. how engaged he is with all the members and how supportive he is of us as well. And I have never forgot that. And I shared something with Rick. I said, "I remember paying that bill." He said, "Don't. We didn't want you to worry about it. Don't worry about paying the airfield bill. We got it taken care of." And to this day, still have a strong bond. That's a bond that was probably a bond that is probably stronger than when he was here in Colorado. And so I just wanted to share that with people who share this with people who have not had an opportunity to talk to Rick, get to know Rick on a different level. And if you have not, I encourage you to do. If it means you introduce yourself to him, if it means that you get on a committee or get on a committee and have interaction with him, I encourage you to do that because what you learn from that man, you can't put a dollar value on it. He has been in NIGP for as long as I've been with NIGP. And I appreciate all the love and support he has given me as being a member of NIGP. And so I think that members who are on the outskirts and who are not instructors, who are not on committees, please, please, please get involved because you will get a better feel for NIGP and you will get to know a lot of people in the Institute, not only in their office, main office, but also other instructors and so forth. And I feel that you get more out of what the Institute has to offer once you're engaged.
Thank you very
So
much, Keith, for sharing that with us. It was a very difficult time in your life.
yes, it was.
And you're right. Rick's compassion for people is the thing. He always talks about the NIGP family, and
Mm-hmm.
he is family oriented.
Yes, he is.
So those types of actions, he models servant leadership to the nth degree.
Right.
There's just no way to explain that until you see it in action.
No, there's not. And people who are members of NRGP but not on committees and not doing things that get them involved to get to know Rick, I'd say please get engaged in a committee, whatever you need to do, to so that you can get a better understanding of Rick and build that bond yourself with him. If you want me to introduce you to Rick, I'll be more than happy to.
Well, and one of the things that always amazed me is Rick seems to remember everybody's name.
Right.
I have no idea how he does that.
I don't either.
But he remembers everybody's name.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a membership of over 16,000 people.
Yeah.
The number of people he knows
Mm-hmm.
and can actually speak to on a personal, direct level about their issues or their situation is phenomenal. So no better time to talk about the leader of the organization than during procurement month. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Keith, and for sharing that experience. I'm sure people can appreciate how difficult it was, but the support that was shown by Rick and by everyone in that situation, you just can't appreciate that until you've gone through it.
Yeah, you can't. And I love the Institute to death for that. It's just really something that I will cherish for the rest of my life.
Well, and we are family. We're NIGP family.
Family, that's right. We're NIGP family. And
thank you so much, Keith.
Thank you, dear. Love you very much.
You too. Take care.
Okay.
This is Keith Ashby and Linda Allaire for Radio NIGP.
Things I'm going to miss, not to make Dave emotional, but when Kevin called me, I was like, man, the fact that I'm going to get to join and talk to these three people that you've all had stages of your career or currently are in stages of your career at various times, like just learn so much from the perspective. Like I have ideas going in, here's what we're going to talk about. And you always take my mind in a completely different place. So I'm going to miss it, Dave, but I won't make you feel guilty.
No.
Oh, I will. Let's make him feel guilty.
It doesn't usually work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tend to think things out sometimes too much because I know I am emotional, and I'll tell you two stories. When I stepped down from FAPO 5 years ago at our spring conference, I wrote up a farewell speech. And I went to my Bobby Marsala, who was my president when I was secretary, when I came on the board. I handed her the copy of my speech in case I broke down, because I've had it happen. So I anticipated it. And she said, "Oh yeah," and then she read it and she looked at me. She goes, "I can't do this. I'm going to be bawling." And and so I did manage to get through it. And then the same thing happened with the DSA in 2018. The lady from Texas, past president.
Now you're messing with me.
Anyway, she was giving the award. And so I gave her a copy of my speech because I had like 2 minutes to say something as a DSA. And she looked at it. She's going, "Okay, I can do that." And I made it through. So she didn't have to do it. But I came prepared that I was going to lose it halfway through my farewells or my acceptance speech. So anyway, I feel that stuff very personally. You start thinking about how you got to where you are and the people that helped you. And I'm super appreciative. I mean, I think of, Bud Roon sometimes and Kirk. I worked for both of them for 14 years. And, you're like, holy smokes. I had 2 Albert Hall winners as my procurement gurus. I mean, and then like I said earlier, to have 3 Albert Hall people and a bunch of DSAs on this, and it's amazing. It's been amazing.
Well, I mean, the thing that for you is that you are a mentor to a lot of people, even directly and indirectly, and that's the part where
however many CPPB or certificates there are.
Well, it's funny. I was just looking at the statistics this morning. When I posted the question of the day, and I'm up to 8,500 participants in the 16 years I've been doing this. And Carrie, when she was giving me the leadership award last August, had called me and asked me, "Well, how many people do you think got certified?" And I said, "That's a real good question, because a lot of people never say that they won't self-report that they got it until I send out a notice to say, 'Are you participating again for the next session?' They go, 'Oh no, I got it.' Probably a third of the people will drop out and never say anything, and then a bunch of people will, 'Oh, I'm so excited! You can take me off the list. I passed.' as soon as they get home from the test, they're emailing me. So in 16 years, I'm guessing it's around 1,500 people.
Wow.
I'm guessing it's more than that. I just want you to know. I'm one of those that just dropped off. Like, I definitely did the question of the day. I was very excited when I passed. But to me, it would feel boastful to reach out to people. Now Tara's like, no, that would have been great praise for the person who worked for you. But Tara 15 years ago would have been like, oh yeah, I don't need to brag that I got my certification. He does this for everyone.
You know what you missed in that though was gratitude. Mm-hmm. That's what.
Yes.
The people that email me after they get home from the test, "I'm so happy. I got, big capital letters and exclamation points. I passed. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And I just feel that in the email, and that's all that I ever expected out of that people, that I could do something for somebody that's going to make a difference in their life. And because the people that helped me, and we've talked about this before, the forward, what do they call that? Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
And I think all of us do that in spades.
It's just funny because in hindsight, my not reaching out was me not being boastful. Yeah. Now, as somebody who has volunteered and has mentored other people, I 100% agree with you. Just the gratitude for the time that you dedicated to me getting my CPPB, and to you're estimating 15,000. I think it's more.
No, 1,500.
1,500. Sorry, not 15,000. That would be awesome. But I think it's more. How many are on your? You've got 800 active right now.
No, I've got. Right now, I've got on the three lists, I have 200 and almost 240.
Okay, so
I got 92 on the CPP, and I've got
200 times 16 years. I'm going to estimate 3,000 people have benefited from your list, and if 80% of them pass, that's still 2,400 people.
Yeah, I don't think it's that high though, because I think some people give up. I think the questions. I've had people sign up and after 5 questions drop out because I don't think they really anticipate what the test is going to be like, and the first week or 2 of questions are like, oh God, this isn't what I thought it was. Let me try something else. Maybe I'll take up basket weaving.
Helped them too, though, because they didn't waste $500 on an exam that they couldn't pass.
Yeah, and there's people. I've told my wife more than once. I read an answer and I said, this person's never going to pass.
Oh no!
I never tell them that. But in 16 years, I pick up enough clues. There are a lot of people out there with blinders. They can't see the answer that's sitting right here because they won't take the blinders off.
You won't take their agency out.
I was going to say they're too focused on agency process.
And I have people. I could tell you stories all day long. They answer the question I didn't even ask. I asked a question about how can you tell if a bidder has seen an addendum? They don't initial that box on the front of the bid form, but how a lot of agencies, including mine, will treat that as a minor irregularity if they can determine that you saw the addendum. And a couple of people wrote back and said they didn't answer the question. They said, well, he's non-responsive. And I said, that's not what I asked you. And if you do that on the test, you're going to fail. And I mean, I've been that blunt with some people. You answer the question you're given, not, oh, well, my agency is non-responsive. UPPCC couldn't care less about what you do at your agency.
Sorry.
But we have an obligation to approach good students in class, and I've been blown away by some of the students I've had, and I've had private conversations, off the line with the rest of the class about their participation in NIGP and in their chapter, and that's how we get better. Somebody was kind enough to do it for me, and I certainly feel an obligation. I think all of us have that obligation. To improve things. That's how things get better. Anyway.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kirk Buffington here with Radio NIGP. And today we are going to talk all things Forum. Keep in mind, Forum is coming just a few short months away. August, we'll be back to Charlotte, North Carolina, and revisiting our old haunts and the Speedway. So with me this morning is Carrie Winter, who is NIGP's Director of Events and Program Development, and she is going to tell us just a little bit about what to expect. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning, Kirk.
What you got for us?
Yeah, so already we're talking about Forum. Yes, we are going back to Charlotte. For those of you who have been around a while like me, we were last in Charlotte in 2008. So we're excited to be going back. The city has developed and had many, many changes since we were last there. So it will be new to everyone. that participates. We have a lot of great things planned. For those of you who've been attending for a while, you'll see some new things on the program. We do have over 60 learning sessions. The Content Management Committee is currently working on making those selections, and that information will be coming out at the end of March. So stay tuned for the full schedule, which will be posted so that you can see what sessions are being offered, who's speaking, and that sort of thing.
If I could, Carrie, I have been presenting and will present hopefully again this year, but my understanding is this year everything will be streamed live. That all of the sessions will be streamed live.
That's correct. We are streaming everything. And when I say everything, that's a little bit loose, and I'll explain that. All of the learning sessions will be live streamed. We are starting our live stream for the virtual audience on Sunday. So keeping that in mind, we will kick off with our opening keynote speaker. There'll be a large break in the morning, and then we'll do our first round of concurrent sessions in the afternoon. Keeping in mind that those will be available for on-demand viewing for 60 days after the forum. So if you have family obligations or other plans on that particular Sunday, you can go in and watch those sessions on demand later. We do have some exclusive for the virtual audience only, and those are the entity networking sessions. So they will have their own set, and then the in-person will have, again, their set of entity networking that Sunday morning. Those entity tabletop discussions, if you will, have always been a big hit. Absolutely. So that's great. Yep. Something new that we're throwing into the schedule, we are offering more hands-on learning, deeper dive workshops. These are going to be 3 hours in length. So in lieu of going to 2 75-minute sessions, you can attend 1 3-hour workshop. Those also will be live streamed, and we will have two-way interaction between the virtual audience and the in-person audience. So think like a Zoom meeting. We'll be able to see you, we'll be able to hear you, and that sort of thing, so everybody can participate fully. Great. So tell us a little bit about the hotels. So the hotels, we have quite a few. They're a bit spread out. The Westin Hotel is the closest. There is a skywalk connection over the road into the building. It will be under construction, and their lobby will be out of commission, but overall the rooms were renovated during COVID, so it's almost a brand new hotel. We just happen to be coming on the tail end of their renovation. So keeping that in mind, we also have the Hilton Uptown, which is the next closest, the Omni, the Marriott Uptown, and then 2 smaller limited service properties that are a little bit more affordable if you're looking for a lower rate. Those are behind the Westin, and that is the Hilton Garden Inn and the Hampton Inn. Okay, great. Everything within walking distance, but I think the furthest is about 5 blocks. Okay, great. Yeah. So any other exciting news for Forum? Yeah, so we're doing something new. We're calling it the Procurement Excellence Showcase. We in my industry, know it as a poster session. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but basically, we'll have people who will be able to submit an abstract, if you will, to present during this showcase. It will take place in the Expo Hall on Sunday afternoon, and folks who are accepted will have sort of a poster, if you will, where they can print it. We'll have all those instructions available for those that want to participate. But the expectation is that they are presenting a success story, or new ideas, that sort of thing, and they would be present to answer questions. Folks will walk through. It's kind of like a museum exhibit, and then we will have people actually voting on those posters and presentations, and then we will announce the winner on Monday morning at the plenary session. So that's something brand new that we're trying. Which that information will be coming out, I believe, next week on how to participate if you like. That's a great idea. It's kind of like the Innovation Awards. Yeah. What you've done from an innovative performative but absolutely. But I love the idea of success stories and yes. Learning from somebody else. Yep, absolutely. That's what Forum's all about, right? Learning from your peers and working and networking. So that's just another opportunity to do that networking. We also are intertwining current conversations, which we've done in the past. We're bringing them back. Those will be crowdsourced through more than likely Insight. Basically, we're going to be asking you what is the hot topic? What are things that are keeping you up at night that you want to talk about? We'll put that on the schedule, and those will be led by procurement professionals that will talk about those kind of real world issues and that sort of thing. So that's coming back. Supplier innovation theaters, we'll have 2 of those in the expo hall this year. We had 2 last year. They were very well attended.
I couldn't get in a couple of times, so
Yeah.
very, very well attended.
They are. That gives the suppliers an opportunity to actually tell you what they do and what they have that can help solve your problems, right? Unlike at workshops, we don't want that. So this gives the suppliers an opportunity to talk about what they can do or the latest trends in their industry. So those will be on the floor both days. We are hoping that some of them will record a snippet of their session that we can put out so the virtual audience can participate. So we're working on that as well.
That's great, Carrie. So early bird registration, I'm sure everybody who's watching this is going to ask, okay, when can I get the early bird registration, or how long can I get it?
So early bird ends on May 31st. So that is your opportunity to save some money. We do have what we've in the past called an attendance toolkit. It's now posted on the website. It's kind of what you need to know. How do I go about sort of document that folks who are needing some help to get approval to attend can download that. And it has a lot of great ideas and information that you can use to submit to your supervisor to get approval to attend.
Great. So anything else you'd like to share?
Well, the awards is going to be a dinner this year. So
I like that.
We probably won't stream it because it's Sunday night and it's going to go later in the evening, but we will record it, and for folks who are interested to view it later, we can put that out on the platform, so that'll be available. That gives us extra time to just kind of get through the awards. We won't be rushing like we were last year after lunch, which you personally experienced. So we're going back to an awards dinner on Sunday, and then the ever popular social event will take place on Monday evening. We will be hosting that at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So if you're a NASCAR fan, that speedway is one of the most intense, apparently, in terms of slope and all of that stuff. But the local planning committee is working really, really hard to make that event very fun and successful and sort of have something for everyone. There'll be lots of different activities. It's not just about the cars and the racing. We'll have a nice dinner out there. We will have to be transported by bus, but rest assured, we'll have some things for you to view on the screens on the way out there, and lots of activities once you get there. And then buses, as they start to fill, will come back to the hotel. So if you're ready to come back after you eat dinner, that's okay. You can do that. But stay tuned for more information on those activities at the Speedway.
That sounds great, Carrie. And I can tell you, for one, when we went there in 2008, I was not and still am not really a NASCAR fan, but I loved the event at the Speedway. I really did. And it was just a load of fun. So for those of you who may think, well, I don't really do NASCAR, give it a shot. I really enjoyed it. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for joining us. Everything sounds really exciting. You and your team do such an amazing job every year putting this together. And now that all of the learning sessions are going to be streamed live, I think that is just great for the virtual audience who can then see everything at the same time everybody else sees it.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you so much, Carrie. And I look forward to seeing you again. Maybe we'll do another promo in maybe April.
Sounds good. Happy to do it.
Probably May.
Probably
Right
May.
before early bird ends. And keep in mind, early bird registration ends May 31st. So for Carrie Winter at NIGP and myself, Kirk Buffington, this is Radio NIGP.
Hi, Ginger Line, Area 6 Chapter Ambassador. Last week, I had the ability to go to the Leadership Summit, and while there, I was able to interview a few chapter leaders about what their chapters are doing for Procurement Month and really to celebrate all of the people in their chapter. Let's hear what they have to say. Hi, can you tell us your name?
My name is Kara Daniel.
And what do you have on your wrist there?
I have friendship bracelets.
That's awesome. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, it's the Taylor Swift effect. I recently saw on a award show that the sale of beads have gone up over 500% because of all of the gift exchanges that they're doing at concerts and events, and I thought I would bring that to NIGP.
And what does that mean to you?
So it's really been a bonding experience. We've been here a few days now. Handing out the hundreds of bracelets that I brought, I got to meet people that I haven't met before, and people are really excited about it. And I hope this is something that catches on and that we can even do it for them. I really encourage everybody that's watching this and challenge you to make bracelets to exchange at Forum in Charlotte. Customize them to your chapter, to your agency, whatever the case may be. The possibilities are really endless, and it's been a lot of fun.
Hi, I'm Kelly Vickers. I'm the president of the West Virginia chapter, and for Procurement Month, we are doing a family outing with all of our members and their kids at our local ice rink. We're renting the space for a couple hours, inviting them to bring their families and just celebrate the hard work that they do and let them have some fun.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Ellington. I'm from the Idaho Public Purchasing Association. One fun thing that we're doing for Procurement Month is we are doing deliveries to different agencies around the state of Idaho, and we're delivering cookies for Procurement Month to celebrate them. We're going to be delivering to some of our current agencies and then some we haven't really heard a lot from, so we're really excited about that. One thing that I love about being a part of my chapter is networking and the sharing of ideas. Everyone in our chapter is so willing to help each other out, and I really think that's something unique about procurement and our chapter.
Hi, my name is Emily Connolly from the Minnesota chapter. This year for Procurement Month, we're starting out the month with a competency module training available to all of our members for a fee, rounding it out in the middle with Marquita's webinar, and finishing it off with a free spring conference to all of our members with both professional development and a leadership fund training speaker.
Hello, everybody. This is John Walton. I'm doing Legally Speaking for this month of March, the Procurement Month. And for Legally Speaking, this time we thought, well, heck, let's reach out to a lawyer who works to support public procurement. So I'm delighted to have a guest today. Ryan Esplin is joining me. He is a Chief Civil Deputy County Attorney in Arizona. Ryan, welcome to the segment. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to it. One of the things, as I thought about inviting you in, that occurred to me was that I'm going to speak from the procurement perspective, and I think there's probably some real commonality between the legal function and the procurement function. You know, we both support our government entities. We help the frontline program staff, deliver the services and do stuff on behalf of the county. We help them operationally. We help them internally with their operations. And we both end up really helping other people throughout the entity get stuff done, right? Yes.
And we end up doing that by giving them specialized expertise, and we give them advice and options. We help them do planning. We help them clean up messes. I think we do have a lot of commonalities that way, which makes it sort of a natural alliance between legal and procurement. And it seems to me that these effective services, if we're going to do that, the two of us, we're going to have to share the right information with each other, and we're going to have a really good working relationship. So with that in mind, I kind of want to ask you some pointed questions and just see what you might give us for Procurement Month. I was thinking if for us to be effective is giving the right information, Can you talk about what kinds of concrete kinds of information or steps that we can take as procurement people that would help you to help us?
Well, I like what you said, that we are natural allies, because I believe that we are. This type of work for me, I call it transactional work or transactional lawyers, where you're trying to get transactions completed, which is exactly one of the things that procurement does, is you're trying to get a transaction through. And so naturally we work together to do that. In terms of how we can work together, how you can help us and how we can help you, I think one is an open line of communication. Both sides are able to communicate with one another about anything and everything related to that transaction. What are the issues? What's going on? What's the background? What do I need to know? So that's one, is make sure you have an open line of communication between your attorney and the procurement officer or the procurement department. The second thing, and I tell this for anybody, and I know that I believe our procurement director would know this, the sooner the better. The sooner you can get it to us, the better. And that puts an obligation on me to also get it to you. We want to get things moving. We want to get things going as quickly as possible, but we want to do it effectively. We want to do it properly. We don't want to cut corners. So the sooner you can get it to me, the quicker I can get it back to you, so that we're not rushing something. We're not trying to push something through that's not quite up to the standards that we want. So the earlier you can get something to the attorney, so much better. I think any attorney is going to say that the earlier you can get it, the better. The other thing too, the third thing that I can think of is, what are the expectations? What are the expectations you give to the attorney? I like to know, what is it that you want from me? What is it that you need? What exactly are we trying to do here? When do you need it by? Give me those clear expectations so I know exactly what you're looking for. Do you need me to draft the entire contract, or are you only looking at this one section? Is this section, is this the issue that needs to be done? And how quickly do we need to do that? Do you need me to contact somebody? Do I need to step in and draft a letter? Do I need to do a cure notice? Do I need to do something here? What exactly do you need me to do? What's the expectation that you have of your attorney in order to get this transaction through? So those to me are three things that I can think of: an open line of communication with your attorney. The sooner the better. The earlier you can get something to them, the better. And finally, just what are the expectations? And also that those expectations be reasonable. Both sides to it. I'm not just talking the procurement side, but also I should also have reasonable expectations of my procurement officer to say, hey, this is when I need it by. This is the information that I need. So set those reasonable expectations on both sides. And I think then that way both parties will have a good relationship.
Those are great. This is a breath of fresh air to hear you kind of just lay it out like that. So those are some of the things that will make for a good working relationship. Can you, if I were to ask you though, do you have any thoughts about how to cultivate a good professional relationship? How do you nurture or establish, what would you like to see when you're interacting with folks like the procurement folks?
Well, I talk about, I really enjoy our procurement department. I think they do a great job. And some of the things that I see from them that help develop that relationship, one is they're professional. They don't cut corners. They want to have a high level of expectations. And I want to do that too. We want the same thing. We have the same goals, same things that we want to do a high level of work here and help people, help get things through and move things through. So I think in developing that personal relationship, or that healthy relationship, that good relationship, it comes down to, understanding what both sides want and that we're working together towards that. And then there's just little things that I can think of, open door policies, being able to call and email, responding within a reasonable amount of time. Again, I don't like to rush things. I just dislike it when somebody says, well, and I needed it yesterday. Well, it's kind of hard. I've got a lot of things I'm working on, but occasionally an emergency comes up, and I like it when the procurement officer will say, hey, this is an emergency. We need to get this through. And so I'll say, okay, I'll work on this and get this done. Thank you for letting me know. So I think if to cultivate that healthy relationship, it's got to be respect for one another, communicate with one another, and just, just those little things of opening the communication lines, that'd be the best.
Oh, wow. We really do have a lot in common, because so many of the perspectives you shared are what things that I hear from my colleagues too when we get together and we talk about it. So yeah, it's common sense in a lot of ways. Thank you for saying it the way you did, though. So let's close up. I just wanted to give you a chance to think about, well, let me frame it this way. There is such a thing as an elevator speech, where if you only had 30 seconds with somebody and that was going to be your only contact with them, and you really wanted to maybe establish a relationship with them or give them your best advice, or uh, just share your wisdom, whatever it might be, if you had to do that in a very short period of time, can you think of what advice or wisdom that you would want to share with people about government procurement?
If I were to, let's say that I talked to a prospective employee that was going to join the procurement department, and they said, "Hey, what do I have to expect?" What I would suggest them, the advice that I'd give to them, I'd say, "Hey, try to help that end user. Your goal is to help that end user get that thing moving, get the transaction completed, but in a professional, respectful manner. We don't cut corners. We don't try to do things that would be contrary to the code. Just follow the rules, follow those procedures. And if you follow those rules and follow those procedures, you'll get the end result, and you'll do it the right way." Procedures are important that we do that. There's times when we have to kind of work through things, and we'll work together to do that in order to achieve the end goal. But really try to find ways to achieve that end goal so that the process is moving, the transactions are being completed, but doing it in a way that is respectful, that is professional, that is something that you can be proud of. That's what I would tell a prospective procurement officer. In terms of telling the public, I think when I think of procurement, you guys, the procurement department is behind the scenes. They're doing all this stuff and doing all these things. The end product, the end goal does not just magically appear. Someone is doing that, and that someone is the procurement department. How did the county enter into this lease? How did the county procure those vehicles? How did the county do this? Well, it went through a process, a public process, and that's what procurement does. And a lot of people don't understand that. So I would tell the public, get to know your procurement department so you know what the process is. So that when you question, you say, well, why is the county doing business with that entity? We can explain, well, we went through a public bidding process, and this is how I did it. And when businesses say, well, how do I participate in that? You can say, well, go to your procurement department. The procurement department will explain how you can participate, how invitations are sent out, what is the process by which that goes through that, and then you can do that. And we have that occasionally. We'll have businesses will say, well, how did this happen? We say, well, here's the public procedure, and here's the procedure that we followed. And the next time this comes around, this is how you can do that. So I think, for the professionals out there in the procurement department, keep that professional, following your procedures. For the public, get to know the county or city or state procurement office so that you can participate with it.
I really want to offer you a compliment. I can tell from your comments that you are a strong ally in the shared mission, of getting stuff done by government. And I wish I had a chance to work with you on a professional basis. I would love to work with you sometime. But I want to thank you so much for joining us this month. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And we're going to say goodbye and see you next month on Legally Speaking with Radio NIGP. Thanks.
Okay. Happy to be there. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Barb Johnson with Radio NIGP, and I have the pleasure to interview one of our esteemed colleagues, Jack Pellegrino. Jack has been serving the membership of NIGP and the California Public Procurement Organization for many, many years. in leadership, in studies, and several things. He's currently the director of purchasing and contracting for the county of San Diego, and he also is currently serving on the NIGP CPP Certification Commission, and he is also the past president of CAPO, the California group, for public procurement. So, Jack, you've been a fabulous supporter of so many of us, and I know the things that you do as a practitioner in San Diego absolutely propels the profession forward. Whether it's, I like to say, evolutionary or revolutionary, we certainly enjoy you being involved. So I'm going to attempt to make my picture smaller and ask you to tell us what's new.
What's new? Well, first of all, Barb, thank you so much. And thanks to you and Victor and NIGP for hosting this opportunity and having Radio NIGP. Truly talk about what's new and what's innovative. I mean, you guys have set the benchmark.
Oh, my. Thank you.
So, and I'm just, it's quite an honor to be on your show.
You're kind.
So what I'm going to try to do is give you a little snippet of what's new in my world in the wonderful great state of California and the small little corner where I'm blessed to live in San Diego, and tell you what I'm going to show you and talk to you about is something that's very scalable. Barb, I think we're all, I mean, both of us, you and me both, have been doing this for a few decades now.
Love you.
We won't put a number on those.
Thank you.
And so what's interesting, we love our jobs. I mean, the first time I met you, we're all in about public procurement.
Absolutely. Okay? Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about loving our job, it's not work to us.
Right.
It's our career, it's our profession. And when we step back and think about what we're accomplishing for our communities and the citizens that we serve, that's what excites me to get up in the morning.
Yes.
So what's new is we are all going through a shift. I'll call it a generational shift in our workforce. My departments, I have 3 new elected supervisors that are brand new, that are new to governing as managers. I also we actually have some actual new departments. So I have a total now of 52 departments in the county. Wow. So each one of those department heads, several of them are new to their position. And so we find ourselves in our role as procurement professionals in the world of explaining what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. So not only are we continuously learning best practices from organizations like NIGP and CAPO and other professional contracting organizations, but the most important, our impact, is by how we teach that in our organizations.
Absolutely.
Because each one of us has a different set of rules and policies and procedures. So how do we explain that to the people that we work with day in and day out so we can effectively execute our mission, which to get my departments and my county what we need, when we need it, at a fair and reasonable price for our public taxpayers within the rules.
Yes.
I mean, that's why we come to work every day.
Right.
So what I'd like to do, if you would allow me, is just share a new, it's hot off the presses. It's not totally ready for publication yet, but it's something we've been doing to put all of our procurement policies for County of San Diego and practices into one book that is electronically, it will be a PDF format with live links.
Awesome.
And I'd like to share that with you and with our colleagues. And then I'll tell you in advance that will be, once it goes prime time, which will be a very short period from now, I would make this available to, it'll be publicly facing so everyone can see this. So hopefully people will replicate this for the size of your organization. So don't get overwhelmed because of the size of my book is probably going to be twice as big as other people's books, but the concepts is what I want to get across.
Right.
So let me share this. So what we decided is, even with our new generational workforce, the day is long gone where I hand them a binder when you come to work. Say, read this.
Right.
I'm going to have this PDF available on their desktop. And you can see the date. It's February of this year. So
wonderful.
So good timing. I'm rolling it out during procurement month, huh?
Yes,
right?
sir.
March.
It's a gift.
So let me take you through a couple pages here.
Okay.
So this is really meant to be everything about public procurement. And you can see I've outlined it, everything about my department, our procurement framework, and I'll show you some of these. I'll click on a couple of these.
If you could make it just a little bigger, it would help our viewers be able to. Oh, perfect.
That good?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So everything about my department, our mission, vision, values, our overview, our org chart. There's a novel idea. Who to call, right?
Yeah.
Professional standards of conduct, procurement ethics and standards of conduct. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, this is the fundamentals of why we do what we do. Our frameworks, my specific legal authorities and requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get into how I do our work with approval, how I hold myself accountable to my departments with something called Pulse. I think it's really, as I said when I started this discussion with you, Barb, it's about now that I have everything in one place, in a form and format that is easily digestible and you can get to it. Now we can get into implementation, and I'll call it practice. Practice to roll it out. Not only it starts with my team, but then it goes out to Barb. I don't know if you know this about the County of San Diego, but I have 20,000 employees that work for the County of San Diego.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yes.
But you are, frankly, one of the biggest counties. LA might be bigger, but
we're second in California, only to my big brother to the north. I call him my big brother to the north.
Yes. Yes.
And then we're in the nation. I think we're fourth or fifth in the nation. So a workforce of 20,000 people. I would say of those 20,000 people, there are thousands that are involved in the procurement process.
No doubt.
Right.
Well, thank you for this great news. And I look forward to hearing more about it, maybe on subsequent Radio NIGP shows. You can discuss with us or bring in a newbie and have them tell us how this helps them. So thank you.
Thank you, Barb. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to an opportunity to talk to you all again. And I will get you, as soon as this goes live, I'll get you a copy. Make sure that it's posted for our colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And best wishes, and thanks for moving us ahead.
Hi, I'm Christy Barta with Radio NIGP, and along with me, I have out-of-town Adiola. I know I probably butchered her last name a little bit, but I'm trying my hardest. And she's a dear friend that I met several months ago, and we were at Leadership Summit last week. So, out of town, What do you think? How do you think the things that we learned at Leadership Summit will help bring value to our communities?
Thank you, Christy. And it's a pleasure to be with you here. It's always fun with you anyway. So, um, I think it was really valuable because one of the key takeaways for me was talking about how transformational leadership should be our focus in leading public procurement. And it was a very well attended program. We had people from different spheres and different locations, the north, the south, the east, the west, you know, and that was really beautiful. But one of my key takeaway was we do so much in procurement. We need to look inwards into how we pour into our people, our teams, so that there's a transformation, not just with the work, but how they feel.
Right. Yeah. And I really liked our coaching aspects that we learned on that last day. And I know you did a great job standing up in front of there and trying to coach somebody in a very difficult situation. You were put on the spot, but you did an excellent job. And it's a learning about how to rephrase those questions, how to instead of mentoring or leading, how to bring out what's within us to actually become much better leaders and better procurement professionals.
Yeah, thank you. That was, being put on the spot was interesting. But you like you said, a lot of times we're used to telling people how to do it as against making them figure out in the best, most positive way, because even when we try to make them figure out, it could come out negative, so that was humbling, but that was helpful.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Along with me today is Tim Foytzik, Procurement Manager with the Washington State Department of Enterprise Services. Welcome, Tim.
Welcome, Christy. Thank you for having me.
So, Tim, we got back from Leadership Summit just a few days ago. So how do you think the things that we learned while we were in the Leading for Impact session, how do you think that will help bring value to our communities?
I think there's a few elements here that I think will be valuable for the community. If we go into the management of staff, right, and leadership and growth, and into that specific coaching piece and mentoring piece that we learned and discussed during the summit, I think just increasing the potential and increasing the productivity of our staff through those coaching moments, and increasing the job satisfaction overall will have a great impact on the amount of contracts that we can do, the impact of the contracts that we have, and just knowledge retention as well. If I go a little bit deeper into creating higher performing individuals, right? So just having that fact that you're motivating people and coaching them to be their better selves, creating that piece of wanting to develop, wanting to learn more about this industry that we're in, connecting more with our community in the work that we do. The way we work, I work for the Department of Enterprise Services, and I'm one of the contract procurement supervisors, and my team does service contracts specifically. And so by creating a more successful individual in our work, in our teams, that will open, hopefully, to create more contracts. So right now, roughly to create a contract, and as you will know, and probably all the listeners as well, is it takes roughly a year-ish to create a statewide contract where we are. So roughly, I think the average right now is around 300 days. And by reducing that number, that would open us up to creating potentially more contracts, which would effectively lead to more services being provided to our state agencies. Subsequently, they can then focus on their primary focus. And hopefully by pooling that and having that economy of scale, money will be reduced, at least costs will be reduced for those agencies. That cost, that funds can either go back to the community, or they can use to increase the quality of the products, to increase quality of services, et cetera, that they provide. So I think that is one of the bigger ones. Additionally, we are a very big proponent of small minority-owned businesses, right? So to keep the money, to keep the economics within the agents and the community itself, tribal work, etc. So by creating that bandwidth to motivate and coach our staff, creating that buy-in, creating that responsibility, that will lead to more of that type of work, right? So higher market share of small minority-owned businesses, higher market share of the economy staying within the communities that we serve, and hopefully reduction of cost that can either reduce taxes, but I won't go that far, but at least increase the quality of the services that we do provide. And I think that's one of the bigger impacts that we can have for the community for sure.
That's great, Tim. Wow, you really addressed a big picture of how it's important for procurement professionals not only to get procurement training, but leadership training, because it can help bring value to our organization. So thank you very much for your time today. With me today is Tanya Parker from St. Mary's County, Maryland. Tanya, you and I just came back from Leadership Summit. And, I just want to think about when we're celebrating Procurement Month, I think the things that we learned at Summit can actually bring value to our communities.
Hey, Christy, thanks for the opportunity to talk about Leadership Summit and how the power of you conveys as part of that. As part of the Leadership Development Committee, I'm pretty excited about what this translates to and to be a part of the other side of the coin. So last year, I first attended as Leader's Edge. That was fantastic. It was a very personal journey. I didn't realize how much leadership affects you personally and the way that you have to prepare yourself to take on that role. And then this year I attended Impact, and it really added an additional layer to understand how those tools from Leader's Edge conveyed over to the practical side in Impact, and being able to practice and have those conversations in person were very important for me to come back to add value to my team, my agency, and my community as a whole.
So do you think there are any unique attributes that might help you, considering that you work for a public utility?
Definitely. People, me too, before I started working for Metcom, I never understood what went into making clean and safe water. You just turn on the tap and expect the water to be safe to drink. Or flushing the toilet. You just flush the toilet and everything goes away. But really being a part of public utilities and understanding the amount of effort and costs that goes into making sure that everyone has safe and clean drinking water, and that we treat wastewater in a responsible way to make sure that we keep our environment safe is really underestimated, I think, in most communities. Again, I really underestimated that as well before I started, but now I understand the importance role that procurement plays in that, to achieving best value and using the most that we can out of every single dollar to ensure that people have safe water to drink and they can flush their toilet without any worries or concerns.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Christy. Have a great day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Linda Allaire, staff member of Radio NIGP, and I have with me Michael Beavis. Michael is an internationally recognized thought leader in public procurement profession. Say that 3 times really quickly. Michael has been around a little bit. He's had different jobs. He has been purchasing agent for Arlington County in Virginia. He became chief procurement officer for the city of Naperville in Illinois. He's been deputy director of the Federal Acquisition Institute in Washington, D.C., deputy purchasing agent for the city of Chicago, and purchasing manager for the Chicago Park District. Wow. Not only has he moved jobs, he's moved around the country. But Michael is also involved in a bunch of other things that take him outside of the country. So he's involved with the International Federation of Purchasing and Supply Management on the Global Standards Board. Global Standards Board, the things that we're looking at all the time. But his home environment right now is as Chief Procurement Officer for the city of Norfolk, Virginia. So, Michael, you've ended up in Norfolk, Virginia, and I know you've made a number of changes there. So the thing that I'm really interested in is the move at the city to move to an entirely virtual environment for procurement. How did that come about? Well, we know COVID hit and that kind of drove everything, but how have you managed to stay there?
So a couple of things, and just for those of you who don't know what my background is, I have the privilege of coming to you from the bridge of the Starship Enterprise because it's one of the few places where I can move fast enough to get to my different commitments. All that having been said, and the wonder of green screens and backgrounds, right? So we are totally remote, and well, we telework 100% of the time, and we are totally paperless, right? So we don't have any of the things that traditional offices would have because they hold us back, right? We can't work fast enough in those environments, and we did enjoy what would be the perfect storm of COVID when we made the transition. We had completed an RFP to go from a totally paper-based process to a totally paperless process, and we had awarded a contract literally in December of 2019, and we were planning a 3-year transition, and then COVID hit and we did the 3 years in 2 weeks. So we had a couple of advantages. One was that we had gone through a formal procurement and had contracted for what we needed in a full-blown way. It wasn't an emergency procurement. It wasn't a response to COVID. It was something we had already bought, basically. In addition, we had motivation from our legal and others who would have been hesitant with things like electronic signatures and things to make it happen because COVID was there. And then once it happened, right? Electronic signatures stuck. In addition, one of the things that helped us greatly was because the day we packed up and left the offices, we started this full-blown implementation, and we started having daily Scrum meetings, which are a standard software development process where you meet every morning as a complete team and figure out what's going on and what people need help with and what people are doing, and stay connected in the project. And we have actually continued those. We still meet every day at 9:30 as an entire staff. Sometimes it's a 5-minute meeting, sometimes it's a 2-hour meeting. It depends on what the issues are and what we need to talk about. And one of the things that's done is it has kept us centered, kept us aware of what's going on with our people, and also made us way more productive than we were in the office. One of the challenges is people have started coming back to the office is when I explain to people the time lost moving between meetings, the time lost commuting to and from the office, which my people give away, essentially. They work during those hours as opposed to do something other than work. And the lost productivity to office conversation and office politics and all those things, I need to hire 20% more people if they want me to keep up the productivity that I currently have. That's a shock to some people, but when I explain it and they come to realize the things we've done in the last 3 years, 4 years now, they begin to realize that us coming back would be a detriment to productivity, right? And that's fine. I mean, I would love to hire more people. And if we end up back in the office and have more people, that would be fun. But we also have several people who have, since we've gone remote, moved away. So for them to come back could be impossible, right? They live literally hours and hours away. In fact, I work today from Chicago. And in fact, yesterday morning at 6 a.m., I was on a call where I was on a conference call with somebody who was in Helsinki, Finland, somebody who was in Kenya, in Nairobi, Kenya, somebody who was in Australia. I'm not quite sure where she is in Australia. It's not Sydney, but it's somewhere. And then me in Chicago. and we were having a really good, robust conversation about some strategic planning issues for one of the associations I'm part of. Right? And those things aren't possible if you're sitting in an office. In fact, I couldn't have that call in the office because of limits on our internet security and our phone usage. Right? So I would have had to leave the office and go like down the street to a library or something to make that call. So that, in fact, our technology is more responsive and dependable when we're individual and separate than when we're in the office all fighting for that little bit of bandwidth. So
those are all great points. And, they're things that I don't think people necessarily think about. And perhaps some of the managers, I know some of the managers that I've worked for, really don't have an appreciation or a good grasp on how much, let's call it, dead time there is. I worked at one institution where moving from one side of the campus in my office to the administrative building was a 7-minute walk.
Sure.
However, they would schedule meetings one right after the other. So we had what was called the 7-minute rule, because everybody knew it took 7 minutes to walk across the campus. Why not build in that transit time?
Right.
But it's dead time.
And that assumes your meetings begin and end on time.
Exactly.
Right? Which they can't begin on time because you're waiting for people to walk the 7 minutes, which means they can't end on time because you had enough conversation to fill it. So you're starting late already. So the 7 minutes now means you're 14 minutes late. It's it's an amazing thing. In fact, if we were in the office all the time and everybody was having face-to-face meetings, there are places where we would have to take the light rail. We would have to take the subway. It's not underground, it's on the surface, but we'd have to take an electric streetcar to get from one point to another, which adds 20 minutes because you have to wait on the platform at some point, which is faster than walking because it goes faster than you can walk, but you've got to figure 15 or 20 minutes to get from not even the furthest reach buildings, just buildings that are normal distance apart in the downtown. You've got to ride that train. So it's significant lost time. And you can't have I have a day on this coming Monday where I have 6 meetings that are pretty much back to back. If I was in the office, I could only have 4 of those. Because at some point the morning would be gone and one of those meetings would be missed, and the same would happen in the afternoon. And you have to explain that to people. When people realize it, they realize it, right? And if you're doing your meetings all remotely, sitting in an office, why are you being penalized and forced to sit in a closet when you could be more comfortable and more productive teleworking from wherever you're teleworking from?
Yeah, and I believe there's actually research out there that showed that people were more productive working from home virtually during COVID because they could also deal with their family commitments and not necessarily be tied to a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 schedule when that may not be what works. So your example of a global meeting, different time zones, and NIGP is now scheduling their classes. I'm in the Eastern time zone. I have classes that start at 10 a.m. so that the folks from the West don't have to get up in the middle of the night.
Yep, absolutely.
So that time zone thing and the dead time, it really is an appreciation for the amount of wastage. So if we can become more streamlined and more efficient just by getting rid of that wasted time, what an effort. And the fact that you guys pre-planned and had this in the works before COVID hit, bonus.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know we were going to go virtual. What we were trying to do was go paperless, right? The virtual came along with it. But what really proved it up for us, and I think the reason why senior management has allowed us to go, and the way we knew that it was a done deal was last year in the middle of the year, all of our offices disappeared and became taken over by others, right? So if we go back, like when I go back, I'm ending up in a cube in the back corner somewhere. And I haven't worked, I've had a private office since, I won't even admit how old I am, but 1976. Right. So when I went in that cube, it was the first time in almost 50 years that I didn't have my own office. Right. And what the hell? I pointed out because it's worthy of pointing out. But when we went out, we continually talked with our staff, and they fully accepted this and worked from this premise that if we don't prove that we're productive, we're going to have to go back in. We have to make sure we're answering the phone right away. We have to make sure we're responding to emails appropriately, which I will tell you, some of my people were not the best at when they were in the office. In fact, I would blow off some emails, right? And I can't do that now. Sorry, I actually have my phone ringing. That's a bad thing. We became more responsive when we became virtual, right? So nobody can say, well, we don't know if you're working, because if you call us, we answer, right? If you need something, we're there. We're just there quicker because it's like you email us, you get a response. The response might be, I'm in a meeting, I'll have to call you back. The response might be, I need to research that. It might be, I'm busy, I don't have time until tomorrow afternoon. I'll text you when I'm ready to talk, but they get a response. And that's really important. It's important when you're in the office, but people blow it off when they're in the office because they're literally away from their communications devices. Like I had a person 3 jobs ago. I had a group of people in the office who I was the manager, right? I was the leader of the group, but they would become deeply personally offended if you didn't say hello to them personally every morning, right? There had to be this recognition of their presence, right? I'm okay with that. I mean, for me, I don't care. I'll just walk in and start working. But for them, you had to say hello. So that meant there was this walking down the hall thing that happened. And when you're walking down the hall, you're not at your phone. You're not at your computer. You're not at that stuff. You don't do that, right? Now I don't have anybody who's articulated that kind of a need or exhibited that kind of a need, but we're together every morning at 9:30 anyway, because it's easy, right? And it's not, if we were doing this meeting in the office, which we did them sometimes, we would all gather in a room. Right? And if we're gathering in a room, we don't know what's coming across our computers or ringing on our phones. When we're there, it still pops up. Like my phone just rang and I see things pop up on my email and I see if I need to respond to somebody as soon as I get off here. Where in the office, I would say, okay, the meeting's done. Then I'd go get a cup of coffee. Then I'd go back to my office and then I'd sit down and then I'd look at my email, right? So it's a much, if done right, it's a more responsive world.
But it also changes the old concept of managing by walking around. So that's a big transition for some folks, right?
Yeah. Well, it changes the walking around. Yeah. So it's managing by, in my world, it's managing by Microsoft Teams visit.
Yeah.
Right. So I still will, instead of walking down the hall and saying something or checking on somebody or doing whatever it is, I just push an icon on the computer and it calls them with my camera on. And they come on with their camera and we have that conversation. And to be honest, we're not producing anything that's not a document, right? So if we need to share a document, we just share the document, right? Where if we were in person, yes, you could go stand behind somebody's shoulder and look at the document with them, right? But that was now, when I look back, very unproductive, right? Where now we can bring it up and both edit at the same time, or we can say, try this and say, oh, that doesn't work, move that word here, right? And you can do it, and you can do it live, and it's just handy. I do that all the time. I say, I'm going to share my screen, or you share yours, and we just take care of it. So it's And yes, you can do that in your office if you close your door and pretend you're teleworking, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and I've had those situations where usually it was the boss looking over my shoulder, and I'm one of those people, the hurrier I go, the behinder I get. So it actually slowed me down more than just giving me something to do and sending me off to do it.
And somebody standing behind me never gives me a good feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's a place I don't want other people. It is right over my shoulder looking at what I'm doing, right?
So my last question for you is, what's next? You've gone to totally virtual. You've thought about being more technologically efficient, and then COVID brought the virtual part in. What's next?
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting question. So now what's next is for us how we become more aggressive in engaging our community, right? How we build a community in this world of remoteness, right? So it's this hybrid combination of not hybrid like go to the office 2 days a week. It's hybrid in how do we get local businesses and how do we get those touch points more concrete, more real, and that is working, right? We're working with our diversity, equity, and inclusion folks. I always get the order of the words wrong, but our DEI folks, and working really diligently about how we continue to build the community, which is one of the reasons why I came where I am. Is that the organization is really committed to the idea of building and growing a resilient and successful community and want us to be part of that effort. So that's it. And what else is next? I don't know yet. Hopefully I'll discover it tomorrow. Yeah, that's part of why I engage like I do with groups all over the world, because what's next is out there. I just got to find it.
Well, but with your discussion today, you've actually provided perhaps some information on what's next for some of the other folks out there. Because there are differences in how you manage things. It's not the same as it was pre-COVID. It's not the same without the technology, but you find different ways to work and move forward.
Right. And there are times where I face the idea that we don't really have, like our systems are completely electronic. They're not like documents that get created and then you PDF them and you're still using a document. Like we don't have a document until we decide to create one. So we go through the whole RFP process or the whole bid process, and all the information that's being exchanged is all in fields that are bouncing around in the configuration that makes the most sense for the person who's looking at it in this moment. So it's getting used to and managing that concept, even that there is no document yet. It's only a document when you decide you need to have it in one place at one time so you can look at it all together, right? And that's a concept that people have to come to. It's not normal, or it's not natural. Naturally, you think, well, you create a document, you PDF it, and then you use it electronically and send it around. And that's not what happens. What happens is fields get combined as needed and put where needed, and things happen that way. So it's really fun to explore and really fun to figure it out.
So procurement professionals instituting change, managing change, transforming things, whether it's processes or procedures or workflows or communication styles, procurement professionals on the go. That's why you need that space deck behind you. Trying to keep up with what's changing, because it's changing dramatically.
And remember that we should be partnering with IT and be the leaders in the technology progress, because we touch every department. So if IT and somebody else needs people to get used to electronic signatures, we do it. And then everybody sees how it works and that it works, or, that kind of thing. So us being on the go makes our communities be on the go.
Wonderful. I love that, Michael. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your insights and your explanations. I'm sure you've given our listeners a lot of information and food for thought.
And thank you so much for having me. It's always great to have a conversation with you because I always learn something new.
Thank you, Michael. It's been a pleasure. This is Radio NIGP.
Thanks, everybody.
Hello, Radio NIGP viewers. I'm very excited today to be speaking with Marquita Gillespie, who is an esteemed member of our profession and has come to us and served us in many ways, past president of NIGP, many boards and commission, and truly someone who has pushed our profession forward. Exciting news today. Marquita is coming to us on a specific capacity that she has taken on once again to advance the profession. Marquita, what's new?
Well, first of all, happy Procurement Month, Barb, and everybody out there is so thankful for this time. What's new and exciting is the NIGP Benchmark Initiative for Public Procurement. This is one of the most important topics I think that our profession has an opportunity to be involved in, and what better way to kick off Procurement Month than to talk about this opportunity.
It's wonderful, and I'm excited about it. And I'll tell you what, I would like to know, because you have the best perspective on this, what is the benchmarking in this case, and why is it important to me if I were a practitioner, but as a member of NIGP?
Yes, so NIGP has issued benchmark studies in the past. The last one, I believe, was 2019. So it's important when we are providing service as procurement professionals to our communities that we have the ability to measure our performance. We talk about key performance indicators. What are the measures of procurement across the communities throughout the states and cities and counties and universities? And we don't really have standards for the profession in those areas. So the purpose of this initiative is to once again publish a survey, but this time take a really deep dive into all the different areas of procurement so that we can develop those standards across all different types of entities, large to small, and have something that entities can look to when they identify their own individual performance measures and determine how they compare to other similar cities, to other similar counties, to other fire districts. So what are those standards so that we can all grow and elevate the profession together? And those standards are missing right now, and that's what we're excited about developing across the industry. And the survey is the starting point for us to get an assessment of what is the current state in our industry.
That is so wonderful, because whether it's an evolution or a revolution, this is certainly going to produce some useful results for our practitioners. So
absolutely.
Thank you. Absolutely. Tell me, what can we do to prepare for responding to the survey, and what's the timing?
The timing is, by the time you hear this interview, the survey is going to be live. We're actually going live tomorrow, which is Tuesday, the 5th of March. Again, great timing for Procurement Month to give this opportunity to our professionals and to our entities. Emails are going out. So if you're a member of NIGP, you're going to get an email, and that is going to give you a link to the survey. If you don't get an email, or if you have someone who's from outside of NIGP who would like to respond to the survey, we will be providing a generic link for all of those individuals. The goal is to get as many different entities as possible. We need representation from all areas of government at the state level, all the way down to the local level, across different entity sizes and different states and provinces all across North America. That is our goal. So we need not only help with entities completing the survey,
but spreading the word. This is not an NIGP only survey. So we want practitioners from all different types of associations to take this survey, and that's a really important part. We are certainly advocating for it from NIGP. This is NIGP's benchmark initiative, but it's for the public sector. Just like best practices, we want to really bring everybody's feedback into this initiative.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
It's exciting. We're excited about this.
I'm excited. I look forward to hearing more about it, and I really appreciate you taking the time to explain this, share it, and sort of get the excitement going for the benchmarking study 2.0 or whatever we're calling it. So
I'll also mention that at the conclusion of the survey, we will be producing a report, actually 2 reports. So there's a part 1 of the survey and part 2. We're asking everyone to complete part 1, and then you will receive the public report that's available to everyone in the community, whether you took the survey or not. But for those who take the step to complete part 2, you're going to get an in-depth, detailed report from the initiative that is going to have the procurement voice, the procurement practitioner's perspective of what the benchmarks and the responses to the survey mean. So not only will you get the research perspective to the responses, but also the practitioner. And that's only going to go to those individuals who complete part 2. So we hope that's incentive to get a little bit more of your time. The survey for both parts is about an hour. You'll need some access to information like your budget and your plan and your documents, but they're all questions that most individuals in procurement will be able to respond to.
that's fantastic. So Marquita, once again, you are doing amazing things for our profession, and I really hope there's an overwhelming response, because this would propel us much further, frankly, in getting the attention and being able to do the reporting that we need to do. So,
well, thank you so much. It's always my pleasure and my honor. And let me just clarify, I'm part of a much bigger group. Dr. Muhammad Al-Qadri is our researcher on this. He's been fantastic. And we've had a great group of practitioners in multiple spaces who have been part of helping develop the survey and advocate out in the community for it. So I'm really thankful to that group and their efforts as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing this with Radio NIGP.
Hello, and welcome to Way to Grow, a moment to explore NIGP mentorship and professional growth. As most of you already know, March is Procurement Month, and during this year's celebration, we're celebrating the power of you, where we'll be discussing how public procurement officials everywhere are exerting their influence on the rest of the world. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Crystal Gilbert-Schaefer, Program Manager for the Public with ODP Business Solutions, and also a member of the NIGP Business Council. So Crystal, welcome to Way to Grow.
Thank you, Keith, for having me today. It's an honor to have this time with you and discuss such an important topic with you.
Well, thank you. So Crystal, as a member of the NIGP Business Council, I want to know how you feel that you, your firm, and the Business Council contribute to the support of the public procurement profession in general.
Sure, Keith. Over the last few years, working through the pandemic and supply chain challenges as a whole, we understand now more than ever, having educated government sales force is the key to our company's success in this market. To further build on this educational foundation, the 12 companies on the Business Council have embraced the opportunity to be a part of the NIGP community. We believe this enables our national management teams of the council to invest in what we learn and share it with our sales teams to better serve our government and education customers.
Well, that's a great contribution. Could you tell us maybe though a little more about some of the recent contributions that the Business Council has made to help advance public procurement profession?
Absolutely. The Business Council with NIGP's mission is to contribute industry content and expertise to public procurement professionals and to optimize outcomes for communities. And we do this through a variety of ways. One is through presentations and white papers, also category specific data, industry trends, and even chapter level engagements. In essence, the Business Council connects the supplier's perspective with the public procurement community and is dedicated to improving the buyer-supplier relationship. The Business Council has several white papers, which we have developed over the years, and they can be found out on NIGP's website. Additionally, we've developed presentations over the years, which are available for your chapter conferences and webinars. A few recent ones that I'd like to mention are cost to procure and cost to propose. So that's assessing, valuing both the supplier and the practitioner perspective. Another one is the evolving practitioner, supplier conversation, bringing the value of the procurement professional to the forefront. And just a few more I'd like to mention are the complementary business practices that is out there as well. And then we also have the evolving one that we've done for many years, which has to do with the why suppliers are choosing to no bid. So what was then and what is now.
I read some of those papers and they really are packed with great information for everybody. And I really appreciate the Business Council putting all these together over the years. So finally, here on Way to Grow, we like to concentrate on activities that encourage professional and personal growth. And I understand that one way that you support the profession is by taking part in a professional growth opportunity that NIGP offers to help our supplier community better understand what challenges public procurement professionals face every day. And congratulations are awarded to you for earning your Public Procurement Supplier Master's designation from NIGP. So in these last few minutes, could you tell me a little about how that program works and how you believe it supports the profession as a whole?
Sure. So thank you again. The 24 members of the Business Council strongly believe having the educated market sales force is key to the success in the market. So the Public Procure Supplier designation is designed for individuals who have some experience in working with public procurement sector, but who want to deepen their knowledge and gain broader mastery. So it's about a 12-hour on-demand offering that is completed at your own pace with 24/7 access and consists of about 16 short modules. So those are the modules that we went through to complete. The course enables you to move away from one-time transactional approach to focusing on building a stronger, more strategic long-term partnership with your public procurement partners. You gain a more comprehensive understanding of procurement best practices and challenges. You build stronger, more strategic relationships with your procurement counterparts, and you become a subject matter expert and guide others within your organization on public procurement. So to further build on this educational foundation, the Business Council has embraced the opportunity for our team members to complete the NIGP Supplier Master's designation. After completing the course, the Business Council members understand more of the policies, processes, and expectations of government procurement practitioners. So I'm honored to hold the NIGP Supplier Master's certification and plan to use my knowledge to further develop and train our company's sales teams.
Well, thank you, Crystal. Now, would you recommend that for other suppliers that may be watching this program to embark on that?
Absolutely, I would. I think it's a fantastic program. I enjoyed going through it and deepening my knowledge, and it definitely allows you to have a more holistic, strategic conversation. And so you can really value that time that you're spending with practitioners and make sure you're bringing value to them from a place of understanding their challenges and where they're coming from and really aligning with those rules and regulations that they're operating within every day. So I absolutely would recommend it to other suppliers and their sales teams as well.
Yes, and they can find that information on the NIGP website.
That is correct. So it is out there on NIGP's website. It's an on-demand course, like I mentioned. And so if you go out on NIGP's website, you can register and sign up, and you can do it at your own pace.
Well, that's great. Well, that just about does it for this month's segment. So, Krista, I want to thank you for taking the time to chat with me today on Way to Grow. And As always, I want to remind everybody that you can find the NIGP Mentorship Program as well as our mentorship Facebook page at www.nigp.org/mentorship. And you can find information on the Supplier's Masters program as well. So now this is Keith Glatt speaking and hoping that you have a wonderful procurement month. And I invite you to join me for our next segment on Way to Grow. And of course, reminding you that this is Radio NIGP.
Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Allaire, and I am staff of Radio NIGP. And today on Visionary Views, I have with me two people who I'm sure you know, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, Linda and Victor. My name is Barb Johnson, and I am also staff of Radio NIGP, and I am a semi-retired procurement professional after 37 years in the trenches, and looking forward to celebrating this third year of Radio NIGP with you.
Thank you, Barb. My name is Victor Lemer. I am currently the senior buyer and interim purchasing manager for Spokane County, working 30 years previously to that from the great state of Alaska, which you see in my background here. And I am co-founder and producer, along with Miss Barb here, of Radio NIGP.
Thank you so much. Well, everyone, as Barb said, this is the third anniversary of Radio NIGP. And since March is purchasing month, we thought it was a good time to find out a little bit about how Radio NIGP got started. What was the germ that really got it going? What were the roots of it? So I'm going to ask Barb and Victor to give us a little bit of background on that, and then we'll see where that takes us.
So as many things with the NIGP family, Victor and I were in a class together, and as he was introducing himself, I was struck at what a great, strong voice he had, and I asked him if he had ever done radio. And take it from there, Victor.
And I said yes. I had a degree from college to get into radio and realized it didn't pay as much as I wanted, but still did that on a part-time while I pursued a career in procurement. But yes, I did have a background in radio. And from that, you made a comment about, wouldn't it be great if we use the talent of radio? And how did you say it, Barb?
I said, we were talking about the class we had, and I said, I've had a thought. What do you think of Radio NIGP? That was the question. At which point, this is on email, Victor wrote back pretty quickly.
And well, you planted a seed. You said that magic question, what if? And taking what we enjoy, the topic of procurement, and also the expediency and access to information via radio, i.e. immediate, combine those two and do something, a podcast, a newsletter, a show, and it just grew and grew and grew.
Yes, and you did the research about what was already out there and what was missing. We developed a pitch for NIGP leadership, and we also developed a very quick strategic plan about next steps, including the most important part, Linda, was what's the hit list?
Yes.
Yeah. Who do we think would be fantastic personalities and really have something to offer our watchers/listeners?
of
And
which
I
one of them
remember
is
getting
here
that
with us
call from
today.
Barb about would I be interested in joining the staff of Radio NIGP, and I had this flashback for those of us who are old enough, mature enough to remember the day of the shadow when there was no television and you relied on radio. I thought, my goodness, we're regressing. However, all things old become new again, right? So the little cast of characters that we have now, that was a collaborative thing for you guys to get together and say who's on our hit list.
Indeed. And in addition, it's sort of waterfalled, if that's the word, or cascaded. That's better for the guy from Washington. It cascaded because folks who were very interested and really caught the vision quickly were so kind to recommend other characters. And Victor did a fabulous job using his radio production understanding and skills to show how you put a show together and consider it. And I was just fascinated by how easy this was. And when the universe gives you something quote unquote easy as a lift, you know it's the right thing to do. And that's what Victor did. He made it easy.
And I would go a step further, and what really gelled with our group, in our current group, we have over 600 years of procurement experience, was taking these, what I call masters, these subject matter experts, and bringing them together and regenerating and reviving this passion in a new direction. And the bottom line that I continue with is it's fun. It's informative, but most important, it's fun.
And I can vouch for that. It is fun. It's also very educational because, Victor, you have brought a lot of us up to a different level when it comes to dealing with the technology behind putting on a production like this. You know, looking at the camera, looking at your audience, being focused, not reading the paper, keeping your head up, all sorts of fun stuff that we probably wouldn't have found otherwise.
The difference in the quality of delivery from those first several shows, which were great, and now is pretty cool. And many of the staff have mentioned that this experience has made them more confident in delivering instructions, be it as NIGP instructors or just in working with their internal folks delivering information. There were many, many, many more virtual meetings in the world just a year or so ago. And so it was sort of our luck to be able to coach each other and learn and just get to be great at this. But the amazing thing is that it happened, and the fact that these things came together, including the tremendous support of Rick Grimm and Fred Kuhn, and the additional support by NIGP marketing and the NIGP professional development and content folks, let alone how many fantastic people embraced the opportunity.
So here we have 3 years later, one program, at least one program a month, because some have some deeper dive postings that we put up. So more than one program a month that's posted to YouTube, and those don't go away. So Barb, could you comment on the evolution of the Radio NIGP programs? Are they viewed as much now as they were originally? Has there been greater uptake? are we finding some of the older shows are being viewed, even though they might be 3 years old?
Well, let me first defer to Mr. Leamer because he is a great instrument of getting the topics and the contents sort of curated. Well, in fact, curated. So, Victor, what do you think about the content and how it's flowed?
Well, the content is procurement related, and anything related to that is exciting. And as issues come up in the world, in our industry, we love to talk about it. And more we like to provide information as people face situations. What have others done? Let's interview someone that's going through this or has gone through it, and what tools and tips do they provide? So as procurement, even though the process is pretty static, issues come up that we have to address with. So there is an endless source of information and experts out there that will find you and will interview you. And someday you will be on Radio NIGP.
It's tremendously helpful in the midst of bringing Radio NIGP to life. There was a tremendous amount of turnover in staff. And I didn't realize how much of an effect it would have on programming, but folks like Victor and Don Buffum and many, many others who are on staff said, you know, we really need to touch on stuff for the new people. And God bless Kevin Yin was talking about how hard it is to be a procurement person when you have to deliver sometimes bad news. And this is a tough thing for some of the newbies. Kevin suggested the theme of softening the no. Other than our initial episode, which Christy Varda introduced, that softening the no has been the highest number of hits for viewers, and that we're aware of, because not all hits are recorded. And in fact, as the episodes age, YouTube adds commercials. So that's kind of, off-putting. But softening the no was a tremendous, even now, like 2 years ago, I think it was a 2022 offering. Even now, there will be incremental increases in that. The other one that was extremely popular was new to procurement, start here. Tremendous, timely. The hardest part is decide. We do plan ahead and say, okay, what's going on with everybody? And thanks to Victor's diligence, we have also done basically, what's happening in perch issues. Do you want to chat about that?
Sure. And if you're not familiar with Perch Issues, it's a online community for NIGP members. And with that, you can put any question in. And especially if you're new to procurement, it's a great resource. Or if you're going into a contract that you're not familiar with, you can ask for examples or any type of help, and you'll get instant assistance. There's a way to go through there and list how many particular topics have more interest and more replies, and you can get a top 10 list pretty easy. And we'll run that every now and then just to see if there's something new on the horizon, or if we're watching that community. If there is a flurry of action on a topic, that usually will set off, hey, we should look into this and see what information we can help provide on that.
And I appreciate the creativity of the staff, and also the willingness to validate whether or not something is an issue or just kind of a sideline. What I like particularly about your Visionary Views segment, Linda, is that you managed to draw some wonderful expertise and advice from leaders and folks who are not formally leaders, but are folks who are very, very experienced in leadership. And you coaxed it out of them. Way to go, girl.
Well, thank you for that. But I mean, there are teams behind these groups, right? I mean, you've got Legally Speaking is a team of lawyers who are also procurement people. We've got Visionary Views, and we've got some, older folks like me. We've got some younger folks who are finding people who we think would be, of interest and have something valid and creative and forward thinking to share with members.
Yes.
And we're all three of us are instructors for NIGP. And I know that I have, and I'm sure the two of you have, mentioned to students in classes, not only does Radio NIGP exist, but perhaps point them to a particular segment, like Softening the No, so that they can view that as, added material, a bonus, if you like, for classwork. Something they can go back and look at in their own time, maybe even share with colleagues, because it's now in the can and posted on YouTube, so it's out there.
In addition, over the years, chapters have begun screening Radio NIGP for their chapter meetings, or just recommending it for the chapters in Ohio. They have put a link to Radio NIGP on their websites. And keep in mind, and this is the most wonderful surprise of all, it's all volunteer. All this work and creativity and passion, I would say passion, that particularly Mr. Leamer encourages and does, it is all voluntary, because he puts our procurement colleagues first. Okay, he has to take care of himself, but he puts our procurement colleagues first, and we're always thinking about what might someone need a reference to or information on. And he's got great access based on all of his activities, volunteer activities and others. He definitely has his ear to whatever information is coming by. So I don't know how you do it, Victor, but you're timely, at least.
Well, what's nice is, thank you for those comments, Barb, but each of us on the team brings a unique quality that you could point towards. Like you mentioned, Christy and her tech talk, she has her ear on the tech world. And then Keith Glatz and his sensitivity to the mentor-mentee relationships and the values of that. Every segment has those subject matter experts that can find those tidbits of information, those people to interview and share that. So I think kudos need to go out to our entire team for doing an excellent job. And I can't wait for this next year to see what new segments, what new members might be joining, and what are we going to do for December this year?
Yeah. December is always a surprise. It's a gift.
Well, and on that note, the creativity of the shows themselves, they're not always the same. They don't have the same structure. Yes, we have some common, Visionary Views might be a monthly thing, or every other month, or Legally Speaking every month with the odd month off. But in the February posting that was just done, we had kind of a deeper dive on recruiting and retaining staff. It wasn't, an interview. It was a group discussion with a bunch of people who had different comments, different input, like a fireside chat. And then, of course, we have those fun things that we do, like, the Christmas shows, which are different than the norm.
Sometimes they get out of control. But,
but it keeps people engaged, right? Because if it's not fun, we're not going to keep doing it. You guys aren't going to keep leading it. Victor's going to get bored with editing it, and people aren't going to be
Never.
interested.
Never.
So,
well, let me say also that segment you're talking about, one of the things that I find amazing, and you will too, one of the things I find amazing is if you see and witness the delivery of many of those discussion segments, you will also learn how to have a supportive discussion with colleagues. And a lot of folks aren't familiar with that. And not that we're tremendously competitive. We already know that in public procurement, plagiarism is welcome, and thoughts engender other thoughts together. But those discussions among staff or invited guests are just a joy to watch and experience. So thank
and
you
of
both
course,
for
those chapters out there who are having chapter meetings. Radio NIGP has provided panels or speakers for some of those. I know Victor has leveraged that for his own home chapter, but it's available to other people as well, with a little forward planning, of course.
You know, getting this group together to talk is not the hard thing. That's not the problem. Like I mentioned, we're Washington chapter. Radio NIGP has been there twice. The Ohio chapter, the Tennessee chapter. For any chapter, if you'd like Radio to NIGP staff to show up and have a discussion on any procurement related, just send us an invite. We are there. Now, what is yet to be seen is Radio NIGP going to be at Forum again this year? That is to be determined. We hope so.
It appeared that it was accepted. It was, folks got involved. Our tagline, God bless Keith Glatz for doing it, is this is Radio NIGP. And we would end every segment at Forum with that statement. And indeed, towards the end of our 4 days of Radio NIGP at Forum, folks were saying this with us. This is Radio NIGP. That was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you to both of you for joining me today, providing the background information to people who may not be as familiar with Radio NIGP as some others, and maybe giving them a little push to join us at some point as staff, because we're always looking for volunteers.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you,
this
Victor.
is
Thank you, Linda.
Radio NIGP.
Indeed.
Hello, friends, and happy Procurement Month. We hope that you have taken and will continue to take the time to reflect and celebrate the power of you and what you do in procurement each and every day throughout this month. With that, I ask you to take a moment and think about the project or the procurement that excited you the most to complete. Which one makes you the most proud? Is it the building that you contracted for and now see proudly standing in your community? Is it the museum exhibit that's on display for your community to enjoy? Is it the shiny new piece of equipment that you contracted for, or the school bus that's transporting children to and from school safely each day? Capture that visual and imagine. I bet it made you smile, didn't it? Consider printing out a picture or just writing a word that triggers that feeling or that thought of pride. Put that picture on your computer monitor, your phone, somewhere that you're going to see it. And let that serve as a reminder of your passion in procurement. So if you find yourself thinking, why am I in procurement again? Does what I do even make a difference? And does anyone notice? Then I want you to look at that picture and you say, bless their hearts, it doesn't matter if they notice or appreciate what I'm doing today. I know what I do is important and makes a difference throughout my community. then you smile and keep being the difference maker that you are. On behalf of the staff of Radio NIGP, let me say thank you for bringing your gifts and talents to the profession. Continue to share the same with all of those around you. And until next time, friends, happy Procurement Month.
So what we decided is, even with our new generational workforce, the day is long gone where I hand them a binder when you come to work. Say, read this.
Right.
I'm going to have this PDF available on their desktop, and you can see the date. It's February of this year. So
wonderful.
So good timing. I'm rolling it out during procurement month, huh?
Yes,
right?
sir.
March.
It's a gift.
So let me take you through a couple pages here.
Okay.
So this is really meant to be everything about public procurement. And you can see I've outlined it, everything about my department, our procurement framework, and I'll show you some of these. I'll click on a couple of these.
If you could make it just a little bigger, it would help our viewers be able to. Oh, perfect.
That good?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So everything about my department, our mission, vision, values, our overview, our org chart. There's a novel idea. Who to call, right?
Yeah.
Professional standards of conduct, procurement ethics and standards of conduct. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, this is the fundamentals of why we do what we do. Our frameworks, my specific legal authorities and requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get into how I do our work with approval, how I hold myself accountable to my departments with something called PULSE, category and goals. I'll show you that. This is new, Barb, equity and contracting.
Wow.
Okay. So I'll show you what this is. And I have one success story that I'll talk to you about. Maybe we can do another article on you'll invite me back another time when we can talk about this specific success story.
Yes, a good broadcast subject. Go ahead.
Okay. And then you get into all of our policies that are many, including our board policies, our CAO policies, our P-card program.
Yes.
And then finally, because as I mentioned earlier, we have newly elected officials and governing managers that really are brand new to governing. And so, there's nothing better that I have found than the document NIGP put together a while back that explains our role, but also their role.
I think John Walton did a fabulous job on that. And it is also on the site for NIGP. Good idea.
So let me just click on a couple of these to show you how this is going to work. So all these, and I really think this is how our most current, our younger generation thinks of things. They want to get to the information immediately. I joke about if it's more than two clicks away, it's too far.
Excellent. Wow.
So here's an example, one click away. So this comes out to our public website. Hopefully you can see that.
I'm not sure if we are.
Okay, let me see. Let me try this again.
Are you sharing? Okay.
Yeah, let me reshare because I think I have to share the right screen.
That works.
Okay. Let me share this. Okay. How about that?
You got it. Beautiful.
Okay. Anyway, so the point being is it just clicks right to the source document. How about now? Did it go back to the manual?
It did. It did
Good.
Beautifully. Thank you.
Okay, so the other one, my org chart, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So here's our staff directory.
Nice
with
and it's refreshing to see phone numbers. Thank you.
And the cool thing is, if you want to get a hold of Carlos, you click it and it sets up an email.
Wonderful.
Don't want to send Carlos an email right now?
No.
Well, so anyway, I won't go on to just a couple more
please.
Little tidbits here. So this is our internal site.
Yes.
That shows us our authority, our guidebook, our policies.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great. At your fingertips.
One click away. See how?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my pulp, our lead time. Very proud that our RFP processes, when we do an RFP, we are getting it done within 6 months. Okay. So that
Excellent.
means from the day that I post on our public website, the RFP availability.
Yes.
Through proposal submission, which often we give 30 to 45 days for people to respond. Then we do our source selection committee and our notice of intent to award within 180 days. Right now, Barb?
Yes.
Tell you that my actuals that I'm actually doing in this, I can show you this screen. Hopefully that came up.
Yes, it did.
We are, for RFPs, we've done 74 RFPs so far this year. So from
that's a lot.
July 1st to this was month end January data.
Gotcha.
I'll probably do double that. Obviously, I'll do double that.
Right.
But our median time is 70 days.
That's fantastic. What is the start here that you're measuring from? What constitutes the first day? Yeah.
So it's really the day I put the document up on what's called BINET, so public posting.
Right. Perfect.
So to the notice of intent to award. So that's all the way through the selection process.
Right. Well, good. That's still great timing.
Yeah, one of the things that's really important to us about this is, far too many times, Barb, you and I have been hearing suppliers or contractors say, well, when are you going to make this award? Well, it's going to take us more than 30 days, typically.
Right.
Right, after you give us a proposal. But
right.
it shouldn't take 4, 5, 6 months. I mean, that should be on the outside for really complicated procurements.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're sitting there, these contractors are sitting there kind of idling their engines, ready to get started.
Right.
And we've always had the discussion about, well, how about the validity of their proposal?
Yeah.
In today's world, everything changes. And we're asking them to hold their price for 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah. They may get into primetime pricing too.
Correct. So last couple more little footnotes for you. This is brand new equity and contracting here. It is something our board has put an emphasis on.
Yes.
And as you can see now, I have an Office of Equity and Racial Justice.
Yeah.
And so what this takes you to is we have, this is their actual website. So I'm linking departments. OERJ is a department that I partner with very, very closely.
That's great.
And so they're one click away, but most importantly, this is the document I want to show you of how we're in our contracting. We're looking to the contracting process to create an inclusive environment for businesses owned by everyone, not just small businesses, but not just local businesses, but underserved communities and other people that have, for whatever reason, have been excluded from contracting with government.
Gotcha.
And so what we've done is said this is just a checklist for things that departments and my staff should look at when we're writing a statement of work, or we're
Very
putting
good.
together, as you can see, the evaluation criteria, because this is how we make a difference.
Well, and this really helps your staff get acquainted, as you said. And I really appreciate you sharing this example with us specifically, because it's a great way for all of your staff to get the same message, which is one thing about having a resource like this that is, I think, underappreciated. There's a lot of information. You are getting it from the source, and you're linking your folks to it.